Hello, hello, Milica. How are you? Unmute yourself.
Can you can you hear me?
Yes, now I can hear you.
Yes. Okay. Yes. How are you?
Fine, fine. Enjoying the conference so far, and happy to
Great.
welcome you.
Amazing. Thank you. Hi everyone in the chat box. So we should start immediately.
Yes, Christina is going to monitor and introduce your talk.
Okay. Actually, Christina will not be introducing it. She's only here to monitor. Yeah.
Okay. So I introduce you. No problem.
Okay.
No problem. Just give me a second. I had my my
Yes.
file ready. But, okay, here I am. Here I am. So correct me my pronunciation because I really don't know how to pronounce your name.
Try.
It's Milica?
It's with like pizza. Yep.
Milica. Okay, so Milica Vukadin from ELTA, Serbia.
Yes.
Milica is an English teacher with a B in education and an MA, I suppose, in education, along with a minor in teaching English to young learners. She's an aspiring academic researcher and she designs ESL materials and does teacher training at AliceInMethodologyland.com. And I follow her.
Thank you. Amazing. Yes. Wow.
Currently, she's the head of language studies at B1 Method, an award-winning IELTS center in Nigeria. Wow. And she started her own school of English for children in 2021. That's a woman entrepreneur. She is passionate about teaching very young learners environmental education, storytelling and drama, and distance learning. And today she's going to talk about bibliotherapy in storytelling with young and very young learners. Yes. So Milica, welcome, and the floor is yours.
Thank you. Well, being a freelancer, you have a lot of time. You can develop your passions, so that's great. Before I start with the talk, I would like to say a few things about ELTA Serbia. I didn't plan on sharing too much, but I loved the presentations from the representatives from Africa and Egypt. So I would like to say a few things and just share what did we do in the last 2 years. So I'm going to share my screen, give you just share a few information and then start talking about storytelling and bibliotherapy. Okay. Brilliant. Before I even start, thank you, TESOL-SPAIN, for all the hard work, hosting us, being online all day. Thank you in the name of ELTA Serbia. So now I will share my screen and give you just a few sneak peeks. So first of all, I am really happy to show you our new website because we did a full redesign, full rebranding, and now we finally have a functional online presence. With that, we also had a lot of things, even though we were in the pandemic. So in the beginning, just like other associations, we tried to help teachers who are new with distance learning. So we organized some seminars related to emergency remote teaching. Yes, so we focused on the emergency remote teaching. We had a face-to-face conference, believe it or not, which had a lot of people. But after that, we decided to go online. So we developed a very interesting website where we had a forum. I'm showing you a sneak peek. So we had a forum with a lot of people discussing that looks a little bit like Facebook. So we started this community in hopes of trying to just maybe make our conference more interactive. And with maybe a final piece of information for today, before I start with the presentation, is to invite you to our 20th ELTA Serbia conference, especially if you live in the neighboring countries around Serbia, because this one is special. It is going to be face-to-face, we hope. Let's not jinx it. It is going to be face-to-face. And the topic is, I touch the future, I teach. We still haven't shared the updates about the speakers, so you're free to apply if you want to speak at our conference. And that would be all. Last but not least, another final invitation is if you're ever interested in sharing some examples of good practice, I would personally like to invite you to write for our blog. We just restarted our classroom activity section, and we would love to hear from practitioners from all over the world. So that would be it. If you have any kind of questions, you can go ahead and write on our website. I'm going to drop a link. Or Christina, you can drop a link. Thank you in advance. And now let's start. So thank you for the lovely introduction. So I don't need to say anything else. I will start with the topic immediately. Now, this topic is very interesting to me because it's not something we usually do. Lately, with all of the need for taking care about well-being of our students, especially the little ones, sometimes bibliotherapy has a very, very big impact here. So my research is still not yet published, so I'm waiting for the publication to arrive, but I do think I can talk about it. Before we start, is anybody familiar with the concept of bibliotherapy? I would like to see what is your current knowledge of it, so I don't have to go into too much detail. Maria just said no. Okay. Okay. Yes, it is a fairly unknown concept. Anyone else? Okay. Can I also ask you, what is your teaching context? I would also like to know that. My research focuses on very young learners, but it can also be applied to young learners. So this is why the title says young learners as well. So what is your teaching context? Maria says all ages, teens. Can be applied to teens as well. Yes, you just need to select appropriate literature. Young learners too. Practicing through books. Pretty close. Yes, we are practicing something, of course. Secondary learners 16 to 18. Yes. So bibliotherapy is possible with older learners, but not this one. Not this one. This is called developmental because it focuses on the preschool learners of English. Okay, so try to observe it from the perspective of your teaching context. So see what are the things you can apply, because I'm not going to talk about teenagers, unfortunately. Let's start. Now, these are the topics I'm going to try to touch today. Let me just monitor the time because I am very bad with time management, especially with topics I like. So 3:53. Brilliant. Let's start. I'm going to share some benefits of bibliotherapy, including the basic concept. I'm going to talk about roles of the learners and the teacher in this process. I'm going to share a little bit about the scaffolded design. And maybe if we have time, give you some practical activity examples. If not, I'm going to share this interactive presentation so you can copy paste and just use the activities. I hope that's okay with you. So let's start with the benefits. First of all, what is developmental bibliotherapy? I do think the word developmental helps us a little bit. It does tell us that it is related to an area, to an age when the children are still developing, including their native language and their second language. So let's see what is the answer. Bibliotherapy simplified and the role of preschool in the process of bibliotherapy. I just have to turn off the chat box. Christina, you will be monitoring. I'm not monitoring the chat box anymore. So how is bibliotherapy used in preschool with very young learners? Again, you can observe this from your teaching context. Usually when we have problems in preschool, they're always resolved by including the parent or the preschool pedagogist. I do think this happens in elementary schools as well, and it does happen in high schools as well. This puts the pressure of the students. I am using the terms child or learners, but we can use students to make it closer to you. So this puts pressure on the child and the child's environment to change the behavior, and it disregards the possible positive peer impact. So there is a lot of possible positive peer impact we can try to make use of. Bibliotherapy, this is the most important sentence, I believe, focuses on the discovery of the causes and solving the underlying issue. It doesn't deal with consequences. It doesn't include the school or preschool pedagogist. It doesn't include the parents. It only includes the children and their closest environment, aka their classroom, the children in their class. So they are observers. They are observers, of course. So we include parents only if all the corrections do not succeed. So we include parents only if the process of bibliotherapy does not solve the current problem we're experiencing in the classroom. So if you think about elementary school and high schools, it can be an amazing tool to prevent bullying, discuss well-being with teens, and also just use it for classroom management. In my paper, it focuses on children who are having developmental issues, who are having difficulties in learning, from the spectrum of autism to all kinds of other things. It also focuses on children who have some kind of trauma. We did have a lot of trauma last year, and so this is another focus. So dealing with trauma, such as, of course, the global pandemic, maybe even natural disasters, loss of family member, pets. So any traumatic event that you can discuss as a class and help the student without actually putting the pressure on the student. So we are doing this activity as a class. I am not sure if it sounds, if you've never heard about it, I'm not sure if I explained anything. So let's see what are some benefits. Maybe it is going to become clearer. So bibliotherapy aims at a preschool level are to develop creativity and articulation, so to be able to produce sounds and create new vocabulary, develop vocabulary, to enhance understanding emotions and reflection, so self-reflection and developing social emotional intelligence. So we know that this is very important with the very young learners. And again, I'm observing this from the perspective of a preschool and an English teacher, because my basic area of expertise are the preschoolers. Of course, it encourages 21st century skills, that's implied, and it develops communicative skills. So think about it as a storytelling method with extra steps. I do think that's a very close thing to describe. So storytelling with extra steps. Now, it can be used not only for preventive purposes, as I said before. We can use it in the following cases. So if the participant in the process is not the only person with a given issue. So again, it can be used in the scenario if multiple students are having a similar problem, if we have some situations of bullying in the classroom, and of course, if we need to understand behavior of some students and help them have some pressure release. We do definitely need that. And it's very hard to get the kids to open up. So we do it in a different way through bibliotherapy. What are the roles? Again, teacher is the observer, the moderator, the teacher develops activities, the teacher is the actor, the normal things, the same things that you do in storytelling. Now, the learners have probably more active role than in the regular storytelling sessions. So they have a lot of, they're expected to participate a lot. They're expected to reflect, think critically, and of course, you're here to lead them. So the goal is not only to acquire vocabulary, but to come to a certain way of thinking, to have a certain realization. And you will see why. Why do we have the therapy in the bibliotherapy? Now, of course, bibliotherapy is very old. Actually, it was invented in the ancient times. I'm not going to bore you with a history of it, but it is not a new term. And for the purposes of this research, I have actually combined two approaches. I have combined the storytelling approach, the regular storytelling approach, my favorite researchers and textbook writers, Jones Shin, and Crandall. So from their textbook from National Geographic, if you know it, that one is brilliant, teaching English young learners. And of course, they constantly focus on the same scaffolded steps. They are the same as in a theme-based instruction, if you noticed. So let's see, what are they? Here you have the combined storytelling and bibliotherapy method steps. Let's start with the first one. In the pre-teaching context, we aim to have a certain level of identification with the characters from the book. When we continue to the dramatization, we are still trying to help the children identify with a certain event, activity, or a character. And now we have introduced the projection phase. So we want the children to project their emotions, their current frustrations and problems to the character and just have them let it out. In the practice session, usually we continue. So you can see that the steps are connected, they never stop. So we continue with the projections and we do hope to reach the stage of catharsis and realization. The catharsis is the same as in drama. So a stage of very, very strong emotion that usually leads to a certain kind of understanding of the problem. Now, of course, in the assessment, we are still assessing language, but we are still discussing the realization. And the follow-up, of course, just leads to the different lesson. So as you can see, I intertwined these steps completely. And the primary focus are the language systems, so not language skills. So speaking skills, not the lexes, not the systems. So yes, you can do this, of course, with young learners if you have a more open curriculum. I am lucky to be able to do this, but of course you can also apply it even if you don't have a lot of time. You can shorten it. I'm going to show you an example of the book before I check the time. Okay, brilliant. 15 more minutes. So let's go ahead into the pre-teaching content. You will see it's completely the same as you would usually do interactive storytelling. So, of course, according to Shin and Crandall, you can also see the page, 3 basic things: theatrics, props, and script. It all depends on their level. For example, you can skip the theatrics and props, since a lot of your teaching teens go straight to the script, because a role plays, reading from the script, acting out is very close and very, very fun for teens. Here are some language aims here. So we're still talking about language learning, right? We need to capture their attention, connect to prior knowledge, review the language. So all the basic things that we already have in a language lesson. So I'm constantly repeating basic because I want to just point how simple it actually is, even if it sounds complex. When you get to the dramatization, so we have 2 things. On one side, we have dramatization. On the other side, we have guided reading. I usually combine a little bit of that, a little bit of this one. So if you're interested, you can watch one of the storytelling sessions, and this book is actually amazing. I do have it here, and I'm just going to tell you how does it end, and you will see why I used it in the process of bibliotherapy. Pretty straightforward. Of course, dramatization. I do know a lot of teachers are shy. I know I was never shy, so personally that's not a problem for me, but I do know how hard it is to dramatize. That's perfectly fine. Just as students, teacher can be introverts. I know. So you can start with simple things. Let's see some ideas, and you can see what can you do to make it at least a little bit interactive, even if you're not very open to dramatizing. Again, with teens, I'm not sure if they're going to react to dramatizing very positively. They can be quite judgmental. That's their age. That's quite normal for their age. So start with questions and answer and discuss the story. So don't be afraid to stop. Sometimes when I watch storytelling sessions, even on YouTube, I can only see people reading the story, just flipping the pages, reading, not stopping to ask any kind of questions. So in the middle of reading, just stop and ask any questions. No need to dramatize, change voices, or anything else. If the book allows, of course, do some repetition. In this case, I would suggest repeating some keywords, not only to enhance retention, but to stimulate a certain kind of emotion. So if you can, do try to do that. And of course, creating your own ending. Again, nothing new, but creating your own ending in bibliotherapy is a very powerful activity. You're giving the learners, the students, the power to change the ending, project their inner thoughts and feelings and emotions, and change the story the way they think should end. So this one is probably the most important activity you can do after the story. Now, again, checking the time because I do want to leave a lot of discussion time. Post-dramatization, the most important thing and the longest when it comes to the bibliotherapical step, because they have the projection, the catharsis, and the realization, a lot of things. Again, I compiled a list here, and this list, of course, has the regular storytelling activities with a little focus on bibliotherapy. So, discussing the emotions they felt, very important. This one is also quite important, discussing the change in the emotions from the beginning to the end. We usually have a certain kind of change in all of the characters, even picture books. So it's important to help the learners understand that a change actually happened. Problem solving, of course. Then we go to the activities that focus on the language, story mapping, creating mini books, personalized story. And then we come here. Again, we're combining storytelling with some bibliotherapy, creating a story with your own character. So that's a great way for you to analyze your students' current emotional and general mental state. Then again, for the older ones, you can continue to play performance. So my point is you can keep it pretty simple. This is a very long list of activities. You need 1 or 2 successful activities to apply. And of course, personal advice is never name the process when you're doing it. So no need to say to your teens, now we're doing bibliotherapy, we're doing this, we're doing that. Just do the normal things, except add a little extra steps and aims into your planning. Now, you have the full session plan example on my website. I'm going to share it, of course, and I'm just going to give you a quick run through the book. This is why I love it, and this is actually my first book that I used for bibliotherapy. It's called The Mood Hoover. It's brilliant. As you can see, there's a boy here who is very moody, and he has a vacuum cleaner, or the mood hoover as he calls it, and he just goes around and sucks all the positive emotion from everybody who's happy for whatever reason, including sucking out the colors from the rainbows. As you can see, very, very level appropriate, very developmentally appropriate, very simple. He was so moody that he even sucked out all of the stripes from the zebra, and many, many other emotions. In the end, Stan meets a girl, and this girl was so colorful that he couldn't take away her colors. So many things happen, and again, in the end, the mood hoover breaks, stops working. It stops being moody and stops taking the emotion. So as you can see, quite straightforward, nothing too complex. And I do hope you enjoy the story. Another story before I finish, another one that I want to suggest, and I feel terrible for not bringing down the books. I don't see it. It's a book called How Full Is Your Bucket? It's about a boy who notices that everybody has an emotional bucket, and then he sees when he fills another person's bucket, his bucket also fills, so he feels better. Again, a great one. So Christina, can you please write how full is your bucket in the chat box? That would be brilliant. Now that I'm done, I do think you have 7 minutes for questions, 6. I would love you to ask any questions. Yes, how full is your bucket? This is the Genially that I used with the presentation and all of the activities. And you have the blog post with the lesson plan inside. Okay, brilliant. So let's go with the questions. Yes, the first one, the slides are fantastic. Thank you. Christina already sent you a link. She's an amazing moderator. Thank you everyone. Now I do know it does require some place in the curriculum, but can you see yourself using this approach? Even simplified. You're welcome. I'm sorry. I did talk too quickly. I tried to summarize a very long paper in 15 minutes. And yes, thank you. Thank you for the compliments. But I would like to get some questions and give you more input. I do love the compliments, but yes, okay. Mary says she will try. Do try it. Do try it. This book, of course, this one is not free, but is very, very affordable. I do think it's only £6. Christina, can you Google The Mood Hoover by Paul Brown? Pardon me, Paul Brown. Yep, on Amazon. I didn't come up with the method. I didn't come up with the method. The method has been here since Aristotle. You also have the bibliotherapy started with. Bibliotherapy actually started in libraries. Before that, you had the bibliotherapy for clinical settings. So it actually, the first use was in mental hospitals, and it was invented a long time ago, taken from the Oranges of Drama. Do I use mother tongue to support storytelling? Nope. I don't teach any children from my country. Sometimes when I do have children from my country, I never use mother tongue. Even when I do it face to face, I do have other kids support and translate. Yes, I do not speak my native language. Do you think it's appropriate for teens? Of course. You just need to find appropriate young learner, young adult literature. Can anybody suggest some young adult literature? So you do need to level up the approach, less props, more complex critical thinking activities. I don't know. I don't have anything on my mind, but you need chapter books. You do need chapter books. Let's see other questions. It is appropriate. Stella says, what is the students' reaction? The students love it. They do believe it's regular storytelling. I don't think they have noticed any different changes. I mean, they're students. I don't want to start by giving them the introduction. Now we're going to talk about your emotions more, because the very young learners and the young learners, they tend to shut down if you expect too much from them. So they do react very nicely because they have experienced my storytelling before. So I don't think they noticed any differences, but I got a lot of information from them because we did have some classroom problems. What is the age of the students? Are their parents agreeing upon your method of teaching? Of course they agree. They pay me to teach their children. So of course they agree. As I said, I teach very young and young learners. So very young learners from the age 3 to 6 and from the age 6 to 12. So very young and young learners. I don't even think I have any 12-year-olds. I do think my oldest ones are 10 or 11-year-olds. Lister, yes, young learners' developmental disorders. Yes. Well, of course, it depends. I did use my books with children with ADD. I did use my books with children with ADHD, and it goes pretty well. I mean, this is why it's very suitable for them, because they can project into a character. They're often very moody, mad. They have sensory overload and issues, and you do have a lot of research that supports using bibliotherapy, because this is developmental bibliotherapy. It is used with students with additional needs. So yes, of course, it's much easier for them to project into another person. For teenage students, it might be difficult to choose an appropriate material. Using song lyrics, yes, of course. So developmental bibliotherapy is one thing. You can use the more clinical one. Again, I don't know a lot of young adult novels. Does anybody read young adult novels? The only ones I know are related to things that are not useful for bibliotherapy. Or maybe they are. I do think things like Mockingjay, The Maze Runner, all of them are young adult learners with some kind of a dystopian problem. So students have to navigate through a dystopian world with different values. So try that. Christina, can you type? The Maze Runner and the whole Hunger Games trilogy is a young adult novel, very popular. Okay. Do try it. I do think they have space for analysis. Kids with language delay, speech impairment. Well, it depends. Of course it can, but you have to simplify things. For example, when we did this, I did it with kids with multiple groups. Of course, I omitted a lot of difficult language. I adapted on the spot. And we did have an old vacuum cleaner. So when we were angry, we expressed our anger on the vacuum cleaner and then discussed how do we feel after expressing anger and things like this. So yes, of course, it can be used with children with any kind of additional needs. You just need to adapt it. And of course, make sure that they feel safe in your space, in your learning space. That's, I think, the first step. I answered all of the questions, I think. And the time is up.
Thank you, Milica. It's been a wonderful and really interesting talk.
Thank you.
Yes, lovely. Lots of resources also. I would like also to ask you if you are okay with sharing the recording and the slides.
Yes, I share them.
Oh, great, because we are planning to, if the speakers agree to it, we are going to upload all the presentations and the slides to our website and to the Facebook group, so that people can go back to that and look for such interesting information that you can give us. So thank you so much. Thank you, Christina, for your help. And well, I'll see you in 15 minutes with Argentina TESOL's presentation. Bye.
Thank you. Bye, everybody. See you. Bye.